What's up, everyone? And today I'm bringing a deck profile on my Sprinngans. Now, Sprinngans actually recently got some new support out of Lightning Overdrive, and it's actually some pretty good support. Like, Sprinngans before, they did have some problems because it wasn't very too consistent, and there's just like cards missing. And the new cards we got, actually pretty much all of the new Sprinngans cards we got are actually pretty good. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Now, before we get into the deck profile, I'm still looking for more people to fill the tournament that I am actually going to be hosting. I have the links in the description to the video with more details, so I hope you'll go to that video, maybe think about joining. Now let's get right into the video. First off, I run 3 Sprinngans Brothers. If this card is sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard, you can target 1 Sprinngans monster in your graveyard except Brothers, special summon in defense position. Now that's pretty cool because you can activate it off of the effect of the field spell Great Sea Sand Golgonga, which discards a card to activate. And it can also be used off of Sprinngans Merrymaker as well. Now all of the Sprinngans have this secondary effect. It discards in your hand, field, or grave. Target Sprinngans XYZ monster you control. Attach this card to it as material, so it can get your Sprinngans a lot of material very quickly, which makes it run pretty well with Zeus. Next, I run 3 Sprinngans Rocky. Rocky, if this is normal special summon, you can target 1 Great Sea Sand Golgonda or 1 Sprinngans monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. I also run the 3 Sprinngans Fedor. Fedor, you can tribute this card to target 1 Sprinngans monster in your graveyard, except Fedor, special summon it. I also run 3 Sprinngans Branga. Branga, if this card is in your hand or field or graveyard, you can target Sprinngans XYZ monster you control, same as all the others. And you can banish this card and 1 Sprinngans monster with a different name from your graveyard, add 1 Sprinngans card from your deck to your hand, so it's also a searcher. I also run 2 Sprinngans Captain Sargas. Sargas has an additional effect, aside from the same effect that all of them have. As during your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can detach 1 tier from an XYZ monster you control, target 1 face-up card on the field, destroy it. So it's a little bit of disruption during your opponent's turn. And if it's a Sprinngans XYZ monster that has this card as material, gains 500 attack as well. I also run the 1 Supreme Sovereign Serpent of Golgonda. Now this one, while the Golgonda is on the field, this card's original attack becomes 3,000. And as an effect to while this card is in your hand or graveyard, if you control a face-up card in your field zone, you special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. I also run 1 Fallen of Albaz. Now, during the first deck profile I did of this, Fallen of Albaz just wasn't too great with Sprinngans. But thanks to the new Sprinngans Merrymaker, you can actually get this out fairly easy. I also run 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring for my hand trap. Moving on to the spells. I run 3 Great Sansi Golgonda. All Sprinngans XYZ monsters on the field gain 1000 attack. And if you control no Sprinngans XYZ monsters, you can discard 1 Sprinngans card, most preferably Sprinngans Brothers, to special summon 1 Sprinngans XYZ monster from your action deck. And if a face-up XYZ monster you control leaves the field by a card effect, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls. It cannot attack for the rest of the turn. And I also run 2 Sprinngans Booty. Now, Booty, if face-up XYZ monster control leaves the field by a card effect, you can target 1 effect monster your opponent controls. Neither player can activate that effect monster's effect on the field this turn. You can send this face-up card to the graveyard, activate 1 Great Sea Sand Golgonda directly from your deck or grave. Now, this one I've been kind of going like back and forth on whether I want to run 3 Booty and 2 Golgonda. That's kind of like interchangeable. I also run 3 Sprinngans Watch. This one allows you to add the field spell from your deck to your hand, but if you already have it on field, you can use this effect instead to add 1 Sprinngans monster from your deck to your hand. And if you do, send 1 Sprinngans monster from your deck to the graveyard. So it's a Rhoda and a Foolish Burial all in one if you have the Great Sand Sea. I also run 3 Pot of Prosperity for a little bit of search power. I also run 3 Machine Duplication. This card's actually better in this deck now because before the only target was the Sprinngans Fedor. But now you can use Sprinngans Brothers as well. Moving on to the traps. I run 2 Sprinngans Blast. Sprinngans Blast, if you control a Sprinngans monster, choose 1 opponent's main monster zone. If a monster is face up in that zone, during this turn, it cannot attack directly. Also, its effects are negated. And if no monsters in that zone, it cannot be used this turn. If you control a fusion monster that lists Fallen of Albaz as material, you can choose 2 zones instead. I also run the 2 Sprinngans Call. Target one Sprinngans monster or fallen albas in your graveyard, special summon it. And during the main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card and one fusion monster from your graveyard. Target Sprinngans XYZ monster control. Attach the fusion monster that lists fallen of albas as material from your extra deck to that monster's material. And lastly, I run 3 summon limit. This is definitely a really key card because unfortunately Sprinngans still don't have a lot of negations. You got the blast and the booty, but this one is definitely a really good card because not only, even during your turn, you can still play under it just fine because you're not going to be, at that point you're already going to have your board and you can get your cards out pretty easily and you're not going to be doing a whole lot of summoning. Even if you only summon twice, you can still do quite a bit. Moving on to the extra deck, where I run 3 Sprinngans Merrymaker. This card is very good. If this card is special summoned from your extra deck, you can send one Sprinngans monster from your deck to the grave. AKA, again, the Sprinngans brothers. And during your opponent's main or battle phase, quick effect, you can banish this card until the end phase, and if you banish this card with 2 or more XYZ materials, you can send one fusion monster from your extra deck to the grave that lists Fallen of Albas as material. I also run the 2 Sprinngans ship Explorer. Explorer, you can choose one of your opponent's monster zones and or spell trap zones. Detach any number of materials from this card, and if you do, destroy the same number of cards your opponent controls in that chosen zone and its adjacent zones, and or spell trap zones. During your opponent's main phase or battle phase, quick effect, you can banish this card until the end phase. So again, both of these effects work really well with Sprinngans Booty, because the Booty is a face-up XYZ monster you control leaves the field by a card effect. Doesn't matter if it's your own. I also run 1 Abyss Dweller and 1 Dugarish, just some pretty good rank 4 monsters, as well as the 1 Zeus, because Zeus is always good. I run 3 Sprin, the Iron Draft Dragon. During your main phase, you can move this card you control to another of your main monster zones, then you destroy all other face-up cards in this card's column. And during the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can add to your hand or special summon 1 Sprinngans monster or Fallen of Albas from your deck. I also run 1 Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Now the main reason I run this one is for the Fallen of Albas. So let's say during my opponent's end phase, I summon Fallen of Albas off of that, then I can use Albas and one of their monsters to go into Starving Venom Dragon, because most decks usually end with at least 1 dark monster. There may be certain situations where that doesn't come up. In that case, you don't even use Starving Venom. But Starving Venom is just a very good fusion. I also run the 1 IP for Link Plays and a Platinum Gadget. Mainly just because I just need a Link 2. Because sometimes you just need to get a Sprinngans monster in the grave to activate the effect of Sprinngans Brothers to its max potential. And Platinum Gadget gives you an extra summon of a machine monster. And lastly, I run an Appaloosa and access code to round out the extra deck. So what do you think of the Sprinngans deck file? What do you think of Sprinngans? Do you think it's a deck that has potential? I certainly think it does. And I'll see you in the next video I make. Bye.